Shall we begin? Let's begin now. Let's begin now.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Is that all you got?
Let's begin now.
What up? Oh, for sure.
my dreams. I walk free in the city streets. 2,500 days plus 50 weeks. Doing hard time for these WikiLeaks. Trying to bring the truth out, man, it only gets you heat. And then they gag you. You don't get to speak. And when you get the leak, they try to hit the leak. The masters of the masses, they want this shit to street. That's why my middle finger's up to these sick elites. Playing on the regular.
You keep the messenger.
Free speech is the freedom of press. Take your deepest, darkest secrets, never leave them unsaid. If I'm a thief, then I'm a thief for the people you dread. The people want the red, while the blue, you keep them in bed. Seeking the sheep, keep them asleep, deceiving the weak. Keep seeking the leech till you cease, and I see your defeat. Until I'm deceased underneath, I freeze a red sheep, become a dead man. Then I hit the switch and release. Goldman Sachs is your, Goldman Sachs is your, Goldman Sachs is your creditor.
You keep the messenger.
Outside my window, a figure quickly creeps. They dark as night like some motherfucking chimney sweeps. Whiskey what my Mickey keeps. Dying in my kidneys weak. Silence of my risky tweets. What the grand jury seeks. I'm wanting peace like 7 years in Tibet. Now rest in peace like 7 years under threat. Cause I've released 7 vaults. They upset. They ended the rape sentence. But the US still insists to rest. I guess it's a sin to take the truth and disseminate. MLK to Gandhi. Take him and eliminate. And I don't say I'm great. Just wanna say what's fake. But if they kill me, a million others will take my place. The CIA's post like a knife the sharpest. All hypocrisy, lies, and heartless. They want to stop me, my life, make my heart quit. Cause democracy dies in the darkness. Cause democracy dies in the darkness. You kill the messenger.
You kill the messenger.
Democracy dies in the darkness.
Darkness.
Hi everyone, I was out the room then, which is where I heard the beep, so I was outside the room and I thought, oh crap, I'd better get in there. Hi everyone, yes, it's happy birthday to me today. Yeah, it's my birthday. Hi everyone, Joe Hickey has just said, with his Nico House wardrobe update. Now, I'm okay with that. Nico's really cool. He's got a great style, so yeah, I have had a bit of a wardrobe update, as you can see. Thank my mum for this. Yes, my mum dresses me. 45 years old and my mum still dresses me. Hi everyone in the chat. Thank you very much for joining me. Izzy's the Red? Izzy's the Red has just said it's your birthday too. Happy birthday to you, Izzy's the Red. Yes, Eric Boxon. Yes, it is my birthday. 45 today. So I want to thank everybody for my birthday wishes. Everybody on Twitter, I've been overwhelmed by it. Thanks very much. It's been really nice. Another year without dying. 45 of them I've gone now. That's pretty good. What's the record? 120, something like that? I'm going to go for it. I want to say some thank yous. First of all, there was a super chat earlier, wasn't there? That I noticed. Yeah. Kung Fu Platypus, thank you very much. Happy birthday, happy birthmas, Gordon. Hope it's a good one. I hope so too. I've got a lot planned for tonight, everybody. I've got a list of stuff up there that I want to get to, and I'm not going to finish until it's done. That's my mission for tonight, for my birthday. I want to say a big thank you to a few other people, by the way, like 4 other people who sent me super chats on previous chats. One of which I was really quite drunk last weekend. I really was drunk. I was drunk and high like never before. For some reason, people liked it though. But I want to say thank you to Glyn Jones, thank you to Trudy, thank you to Retro Pirate, and to Shane Mora for sending super chats that I didn't get to on the last stream. Very sorry, I was very drunk and I forgot all about it. And thank you for Kung Fu Panda for sending me through that super chat, and to Etik Boxon, who has just said happy birthday. Thanks very much. I really appreciate it. Honestly, any Any help is appreciated. My one of the reasons I'm wearing this shirt today, and I wore it for a video yesterday, is because my washing machine has blown up in the last 2 days. So any help is really appreciated. This is a super chat. I turned it back on a couple of weeks ago. The reason I turned it off was because I thought super chat was taking 30% of all the money you sent, but they don't. They actually, the money that it comes up there, you get charged a percentage extra. So if you happy with getting Google taking the percentage extra to send me a super chat, great. If not, there's other ways. You can click the links down there to support me. You can do it through PayPal. You can go direct through PayPal. If you do that, then that's the second least amount of fees that are taken. Actually, I'm working out the cheapest way for me, because you have to transfer it from whatever wallet you send it to your bank. The cheapest way for me, and I get the most of your money that you send me, if you actually do it by Bitcoin. There's details how to do that. My Bitcoin wallet is down there. Thanks very much to everybody who does support me. I cannot do this without your support, by the way. And yes, this is a whiskey, and I've had 3 of them already. I'm not drunk yet, but I've got a big list of stuff I want to get to. So maybe by 12 o'clock I'll be on the floor slurring. Who knows? It's my birthday. I don't care. Happy birthday, everybody's saying in the chat. So, thanks so much, Bazzer and Marl and Paul Jester. Good dog. Look younger than I did at 45. Thanks very much, mate. Don't look too bad, do I? 45? Especially, I said to my girlfriend, what was it? Was it yesterday or the day before? I said to my girlfriend in the last couple of days, I said, if you go back and you look at my previous videos, the ones that because I've only been doing this since February last year. If you go back and look at the videos that I did February last year, and you look at me now, honestly, it's a different fucking person. It's a different person that's looking back. So yeah, it's only a number. You're absolutely right, Kenny H. It is only a number. 45 there. Hey, 45 years without dying. That's pretty good, isn't it? Getting past, like, what's that, 45% of people who have ever lived, maybe? Maybe actually much longer, when you think of how life expectancy has increased. Anyway, I've got a load of things to remind me up there on the wall. So if you see me looking up, then I've got a list of things that I need to get to tonight. It's going to be a long one. This is. I'm going to enjoy myself. This is a super chat. Thank you very much for everybody who's just sending a super chat. And Eric Boxon has just sent another one. I'm really not happy about sponsoring YouTube, but I'm drunk and you need a new washer. Workers unite. Thanks very much, mate. That's really appreciated. I have no clue as to how much 200 knock is. Who knows? You may have just bought my washing machine, in which case you've just, at least you've put a little bit towards it. And thanks very much. I do appreciate it. Now, I want you to, by the way, not just me. I want to say this. Really, I do. I don't do this for me. Okay? I'm not doing what I'm doing to get rich. I'm not doing what I'm doing to, buy a Ferrari. Although it would be lovely to drive one on a track one day. But I don't want a Ferrari. I'm not doing this to get a mansion. I'm not doing this to get I'm doing this to get a life. Yes, of course, I would like a happy life. But I'm not doing it really for monetary gain. I'm doing it because it needs to be fucking done. It needs to be done. You need to be told the truth. The people of the world, of this country especially, because I'm in it, and you need to start at home, need to be told the truth. And you're not. If you don't get told the truth, how can you make informed decisions? That's what I try to do. I try to give you the truth as best as I can see it, and try to base what I believe in fact, rather than just hearsay. You'll see it as I go on. I support independent media. It's not just me I'm asking you to support. It's all of us. Forget the Guardian and their little thing at the end of their articles where they ask you for money every single article. Forget it. It's just going to go to more shit from the GCHQ and the spying agencies and the establishment giving them their talking points. I'm going to give you the truth as I see it. Now, that may be wrong because I've got the facts wrong, or it may be wrong because I'm missing a piece of information, whatever it is, but it's always going to be honest. This is what independent media does. And the reason we do it is because the people who fund us are you. You're the people who fund us. I cannot look into the camera. I couldn't do it anyway, but especially because you're the people who are funding me. So thank you very much for that. Support independent media. I do. I split it between, I think, 4 different independent media people, one of which is independent media, but it's just to my taste. But I split it into 4. It's like $30 a month, £30 a month, something like that. That's what I would rather spend my money on than the BBC license. I don't watch the BBC. So how much is the BBC license now? It's £154 a year, isn't it? They start you off with £27 a month, honestly. As George Galloway said the other night on his Moats talk show, of which, you know, he played my question to him on Skype, which was great. It's fantastic. Thank you very much, George. Great show, by the way. Well done. Well done for getting out the way of Murdoch's, under the thumb of Murdoch, so to speak. But support independent media. Because we've got to fight back. Because this is nonsense. It really is. And you're about to see tonight, hopefully, if I can stay sober enough to get through this, just how badly the media is fucking things over right now. So I want to start by going to the chat. Somebody said earlier, by the way, somebody said, has your girlfriend got a name? Because obviously long-term followers have got, your girlfriend, you've got a girlfriend, what's her name? Is she Mossad? Is she Sid? No, she's not Mossad. She's very lovely. Her name is Hitch, and it's very, very serious, and I've never been this serious. Thank you to everybody who is, you know, very happy for me. I am too, and that's all I want. And she's taking me, by the way, to those who asked what she bought you to her birthday. I did spot you earlier, whoever said that. She's taking me to Amsterdam next month, and that's the birthday present she's given me. And we're going to go there, and we're going to smoke a little bit of, and we're going to, and it's going to be great because I'm doing it with somebody who is my partner and also my lover, which is wonderful. So I want to get to a few things. Obviously it's nice. This is the first thing I want to get to. Now I'm going to do a longer video about this, but this is an open letter to the 2020 presidential candidates. To most people, it's like, it's an open letter on Medium. Well, they say it's time to tax us more. And this is co-signed by none other than the legendary George Soros, amongst other things. Now, the first thing I think of when I see this posted on Medium and co-signed by lots and lots of rich people who are saying, come on, tax us more. We need you to take away our wealth. I think, right, okay, what's the ulterior motive here and why is this happening? Now, honestly, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I wouldn't be surprised, I will just say this, as to whether this has got something to do with the recent Bilderbergs meeting that We Are Changed did some great work on. I'll do a longer video on it, and I'll get into more detail. But seriously, come on, tax us more. Can't the poor just eat them instead? It'd be much more fun for me to film, honestly. Can't we just? It would be lovely. The rich are going to taste delicious. You know they are. They've been eating organic stuff all their life. You know how you and I would go to Lidl or Aldi and get the cheapest, most processed stuff. No. They're eating free range. They're eating organic stuff. There's no Monsanto for them. You know, they're eating clean. They're eating stuff that we can't pronounce properly from council estates in the Midlands, like quinoa, or whatever the fuck you pronounce that. I mean, they are eating kale. The rich are going to taste fucking beautiful. Can you imagine how delicious a royal child would taste if you cooked it? I'm not saying you should, but can you imagine? They say humans taste like pork. It'd be like one of those little... Can you imagine those little... You know those little birds, what they're called? The autolans in France, where they drown them. They put them in the box, a dark box, so they think it's night, so they eat, and put loads of corn in, eat, get fattened up to twice their size, drown them in Armagnac, and then eat them whole after roasting them. They're meant to be the most beautiful thing on the planet. I imagine that's what a royal baby would taste like. I'm going to get so demonetised, it's unreal, but I don't care, it's my birthday. Hi everyone. They'll be less like pork and more like veal, says Lorem's one. Yeah, I think you're right. Veal's meant to be really tender, isn't it? I'd much rather film people eating the rich than I would taxing them a little bit more. I'm wondering, honestly, whether that's the FDR moment. To be fair, I'm wondering whether that's, FDR said to the rich, remember, well, you can either give a lot of stuff back right now, or the poor are going to come and take it all. And I'm wondering whether that's actually the equivalent of what's happened here. So let me just put that up there so I can see what's happening. Yeah. Retro Pirate Truth Seeker, thank you very much for your support. Here's £2 for Amsterdam Stadium Centre on Canal Bang. Great fun. It's all booked. We're going next month. We're going to be stopping right in the very centre. We're going to be there for 2 days. And I am going to be doing filming for this channel from it, obviously. I'm going to try and send emails off to some of the coffee bars over there, see if they're okay for me. Obviously, I'll give them a shout out if they allow me to stream live from within one of the coffee shops. I don't know the rules, but I'm going to look into it. I'll send off some emails, and you know what? I'm going to enjoy myself. It's my birthday present from Hitch, so I'm going to really, really enjoy it. And he's just said again, happy birthday. Must be 30 again. Well, I've been 30 now for about 16 years. 45. Yeah, it's just a number. It's another year without dying. Once I got over 35, I think, especially men, they stop worrying about their age or whatever. And I've got to this age now. It's like, just own it. Who cares? I'm going to be like, yeah, 80. Come on. I'm not dead yet. Let's keep going. That's what I'm going to be like. I talked about royal babies and how delicious they might be. I've got to talk about this, haven't I? Because this is news today. Harry and Meghan's home renovations cost £2.4 million in taxpayer funds. Now, the BBC have to explain this is not directly to them. It's not like, the taxpayer, it's not like the Treasury just went, here's £2.4 million. No. The BBC have to explain in great detail really what's happened here. They don't just get the money, okay? Harry and Meghan didn't just get this £2.4 million to renovate their home before they moved in. These rich people from the royal family who are worth billions of pounds from stolen assets that they got from places like India and whatever. If we don't talk about that now. Don't talk about that. No. So they say this in the BBC. Frogmore Cottage. Frogmore Cottage. Doesn't sound somewhere that you would want to spend £2.4 million on, unless it's in Wind in the Willows, but I digress. Frogmore Cottage in Windsor was turned into a single property for Prince Harry and Meghan from 5 separate homes. So 5 people live there, and I assume here the state went in and said, "You 5 peasants, you can fuck off right now." Yeah, somebody with royal birth wants to come in and with his wife and, you know, settle up here, so you can bugger off. The couple who moved from Kensington Palace in April before the birth of their son Archie, imagine how much, oh, Archie must taste lovely. Anyway, paid for fittings. So it's they paid for the fittings. Well, that's the bed and shit, isn't it? The fittings and the washing machine and the tumble dryer and the... Well, of course they should pay for their own fucking dishwasher, but anyway. The Queen's sovereign grant from the Treasury, and this is where they don't get it directly. You see, they don't. It's not like you pay your money to the taxpayer and to the taxman. The taxman goes, "Here you are, Meghan and rich man with ginger hair." Where did that come from, by the way? Digress. Excuse me. Hewitt. Anyway, the Queen's sovereign grant from the Treasury was £82 million in 2018 and 19. So the royal family, one of the richest families in the world, got £82 million in 2018 to 2019 from the Treasury. Okay, where did that come from? 33 million was set aside for maintenance, including major work on Buckingham Palace, and this is the work that needed to be done on Buckingham Palace. Now, I was down there at the Assange rally, and I remember standing there and watching these beefeaters walking up and down and thinking, what a load of fucking nonsense. I bet you that beefeater's getting paid, you know, $20 an hour or £20 an hour, whatever it is. Well, it's just a waste. Imagine how many people that could fucking feed. I digress anyway. The sovereign grant is funded by profits from the Crown Estate. Okay, they have to make this. Oh, the BBC. It doesn't come from you. Go to the taxman and then go straight to them. Okay. The estate is the royal family's commercial property arm and owns land and buildings in prime central London locations and across the UK. So this is the royal family who've inherited these prime real estate properties that are now worth millions and millions and millions of pounds and can't ever be sold, probably because it's wrapped up in some fucking blue tape and trussed with a blue plaque outside. But anyway, I digress. The estate is the royal family's commercial property arm and owns land and buildings in prime central London locations across the UK, probably rented out to rich oligarchs from Russia, no doubt by now, but hey, can't say that. Russia, bad guys. Anyway, it is managed by an independent organisation with any profit paid to the Treasury for the benefit of all UK taxpayers. Separate accounts show the Crown Estate provided a record $343 million from the to the Treasury, up 4.3%. So they're saying that the property that the Crown owns, that the Crown Estate owns, generated an income of 343 million, and they then gave 82 million over there back to the Queen and her family for whatever the fuck it is that they do. This is exactly the sort of shit that people like me are fighting against. This is exactly the sort of stuff that drives people like me mad. They have no problem selling off NHS property, do they? They have absolutely no problem at all selling off NHS property that's, you know, obviously bought by us, same way as the Crown Estate was bought by us. We gave the fucking royal family that money in the first place, remember? They have no problem selling the NHS off. Why wouldn't they do it to the Crown Estate? Just a thought. Anyway, I want to get to this article by the Canary because this is from a friend of the show, I can say, and my buddy Mohammed El Matsi. And this was no, this wasn't Mohammed El Matsi, but this is from the Canary. They're great. Rising royal spending disappointing in times of austerity, says Labour peer. And they go on to explain this, and the cost to each person in the country is actually not that much to the royal family. You know, you can see there, 2018, 2019, it's 74 pence. It doesn't sound that much. But you know what? If every person in the country gave you 74%, about 74 pence, that's going to buy quite a few holidays in Marbella, you know? I want to read this little bit from this article in the Canary. It's actually not got who it was written by there. I do apologise whoever writes it. But it says this: campaigners have called for a parliamentary inquiry to be launched into the spending on the monarchy republic, which calls for an elected head of state to question why £2.4 million of taxpayers' money had been thrown at Meghan and Harry's Frogmore Cottage residence. Frogmore Cottage. Whilst public services were under financial pressure. Now, I'll get to that in a little bit, but I just want so it costs every taxpayer in this country 74 pence, or every person in this country really 74 pence. Every taxpayer, obviously, a little bit more. They go on to say this in the article. The annual royal accounts were released on Monday, and at a press briefing, Sir Michael Stevens, keeper of the Privy Purse, lovely, who was responsible for the monarchy's accounts, gave details of the sovereign grant, whose funding used to pay for the Queen's official duties and areas such as royal travel, salaries, and the upkeep of occupied royal palaces. Sir Michael said at Frogmore Cottage, the property had not been the subject of work for some years. For some years. How many, Sir Michael? For some years. I've got a 10-year-old washing machine that just blew up. I'm pretty sure some years does not include 10 years. I'm pretty sure the older stuff that you need renovating is not because, you know, it's a washing machine that's going to fucking break down. It's more like it's a painting that needs touching up. You see my point. Sir Michael said at Frogmore Cottage the property had not been subject of work for some years and it had already been earmarked for renovation because, you know, those paintings, they're not going to clean themselves, in line with our responsibility to maintain the condition of the occupied royal palaces estate. The sovereign grant covered the work undertaken to turn the building into the official residence and home of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their new family. Look how much it's increased since the renovations on Buckingham Palace. That's when the renovations of Buckingham Palace came in, I think, over the last 3 years. How it's increased. I want to read the bottom bit here. The building was returned to a single residence. This is how Harry and Meghan has moved into this place. There's 5 properties. They've turned it into a single residence, and outdated infrastructure was replaced to guarantee the long-term future of the property. Outdated infrastructure, really. I'm pretty sure that they didn't put a bus stop outside, you know. Substantially all fixtures and fittings were paid for by the Royal Highnesses. Well, great. Harry paid for his own fucking light bulbs. That's wonderful, isn't it? The rise of almost 20 million to 67 million during 2018-19 was due to work updating the decades-old services of Buckingham Palace and maintaining the occupied royal residences. So they say it's more now because, you know, Buckingham Palace has needed a bit of an upgrade. The core sovereign grant, which helps the work to fund the Queen and her household and pays for other activities such as the official royal travel, increased by 3.8 million to 49.3 million pounds. The reason I bring this up, here's the thing, right? The reason I bring this up is quite simple. I'm not averse to rich people spending their money because they've earned it, right? I'm not averse to that. But it's the absolute ignorance to people suffering in this country. You know, only 2.4 million. Only 2.4 million pounds. It's only 74 pence per person. It's only 74 pence per person. I want to remind you of something, right? To the royal family, if if any of you are listening, 2.4 million, it doesn't sound a lot, does it? Well, you know what? You've had hundreds and hundreds of years to accrue that wealth. hundreds of years. And your family's done very well off the backs of poor people in this country. And right now, the poor people in this country are suffering. And there are a lot better ways to spend that money. The royal family are not short of a fucking penny or two. They can afford £2.4 million. Why doesn't the Queen just sell one of the fucking jewels that they stole from India 100 years ago or whatever it was? I want to give you a little bit of a shock, royal family, because I don't know whether you remember, but last week or the week before was the anniversary of the Grenfell Tower disaster, where 72 people died. I actually went to it, unlike a hell of a lot of the mainstream media, by the way, they weren't there. But I went to it. I've got a leaflet here that was given out, and there's a stat here that stands out to me like a sore thumb. Remember, 2.4 million pounds has just been spent on the renovations of Meghan and Harry's. Meghan and Harry, is it there? I don't care. I've got my name right now. 2.4 million. I bet they didn't have to wait for those renovations. I bet they did. Obviously, I bet as soon as those renovations could have happened, it happened. As soon as those reservations to that property, which they had to turn from 5 residences into 1, I bet you that happened as soon as it possibly could. Well, 40,000 people, it says here, are still living in tower blocks with deadly Grenfell-style cladding. 40,000. That's all you really need to know about the royal family and where their fucking priorities lie, isn't it? That's all you need to know about where the establishment in this country and their priorities lie, isn't it? There's been no arrests over Grenfell Tower. None. That was the social murder of 72 people, if you ask me. If you want to spend 2.4 million people on somebody's homes in this country who fucking deserve it, give it to the families of the Grenfell fire disaster. There's something else in that leaflet I was giving. Many of the families from that Grenfell fire disaster, was it 2 years ago, still are in temporary accommodation. Still, years later. Do you think members of the royal family have been in that temporary accommodation? I think not. I think maybe next time the BBC wants to say, oh, it didn't really come from the taxpayer. And bollocks, all right? Bollocks. People are fucking hurting in this country. People have died, and you don't give a flying fuck. And you know what? If it gets to the stage where people are starving in this country, I've got a feeling the rich might be tasty enough to eat. I'll leave that with you as a thought. Damn, missed 44 minutes, says Darren Alavey. Where were you, bud? Come on, no excuses. No excuses whatsoever. Giving away what I'm going to be talking about next, didn't I, with that slide? Just to be sure, is it really Gordon's birthday, says Khalida? Yes, it's really my birthday. I am 45 years old today, Khalida. I have spent 45 years on this planet. I haven't died yet. I know, mate. I know, Flower Power. Come on, GD. She says they cleared the streets of the homeless just for their posh wedding. Do you remember that? I did a video about it. Thank you for reminding me, Flower Power. At their wedding, they moved on the homeless in London. They moved them on. Some of those homeless found a bus that was renovated by a charity to turn, as a place to sleep. They went on the bus, and then the police impounded the bus because they said the driver didn't have a passenger license. Even though it wasn't a passenger vehicle anymore, it was a mobile home. They moved them on. And then, when they moved them on, the people who wanted to watch the royal wedding came down 3 days before and slept on the streets anyway. So they moved the homeless who were sleeping on the streets so they could bring in royal family appreciators and fans from around the world, probably big fat Americans, to come and sleep on the streets in their place. I remember doing a video about it. Happy birthday, says Khalida. Thank you very much. Flower Pal says same age. 45, good. Young guy, says Grand Jarvis, yes. I'm so angry. I could paint a bus as Walgus with a lie about 350 million. Remember? No, it's a super chat. I've put it on put it back on a few weeks ago. Please don't, please don't think that Google take any of the money that you send me. They don't. They really don't. We get 100% of it, and I've checked. They don't take 30%. Actually, Google charge you 30% extra. That's the way it does. That's the way it goes. So, I want to talk about this because I talked about this yesterday. It's like, I need to clear something up. I'm not a fan of Boris Johnson. I really am not a fan of Boris Johnson. I find it interesting, right? I find it interesting with Boris Johnson, especially over the weekend, over these last 3 days with what has happened with this thing that happened on Friday with him having an argument with his girlfriend and all the furore that has happened over that. I find it interesting that people are spending so much and wasting so much energy on it, and also people aren't necessarily thinking before they make their comment known. And I'll give you an example. There are people on Twitter who absolutely love Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, I love him. I'm talking, the likes, the socialists out there, your liberals. So apparently they love him. They're all for social justice, they're all for a socialist future and social justice, etc. I'm talking, the Navarra media, the Owen Jones, those types. They've been bashing Boris Johnson non-stop now for almost 100 hours since this broke. Non-stop. And there's been so much shit said and written about that moment. I'm going to give you about that moment, that story. Look at this. This is the sort of stuff, this is from Uxbridge Labour, whether this is affiliated, I don't know, but this is the sort of stuff that journalists have been asking as well, not just, random Labour things on Twitter, but some quick questions. We know you enjoy answering them. The second photo was supposedly taken yesterday. So this is the Boris Johnson's, look, me and my girlfriend, we're very wonderful together and we're very happy. There's no need to worry about it. I didn't hit her at all, It's like, when was it taken? People demanding when the photo was taken. Well, of course, it's just a PR thing, There's no need to get bogged down in the details here. I did the video yesterday explaining why you shouldn't get bogged down in the details. It's a nothing over nothing, and it's like, think about it. Just think about it. Just for a second, if you are a Corbyn supporter, who would you want as a Prime Minister? One of those two, Hunt or Boris Johnson, is going to be Prime Minister, whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter how many times you bash one of them and how many likes you get on Twitter. One of them is still going to be PM. Who would you want it to be? If you're a Labour supporter and a Corbyn supporter. By the way, just to make things clear, I'm not a Labour supporter or a Corbyn supporter anymore. I used to be, not anymore. That guy threw Chris Williamson on the bus. Under the bus. He can go. He's not got any backbone as far as I'm concerned. He threw Chris Williamson on the bus. The second he did that, I was done. That wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the iron rod that broke it in half. Up until that point, it was like, fine. You're playing your political game. I digress. My point is, so much rubbish has been talked about it. To the point where they're even asking this. These were funny though. I've got to show these. Tory wanker. IKEA. This is good, look. This is Boris and his girlfriend on the Titanic. Twitter's good for some things. It is. It's quite funny. Look. There's Cliff. There's Kim Jong-un. I think that's Phil Mitchell. I think that somebody sat there and did that today. Fantastic. And there's David Cameron. Yeah, those were quite funny. I mean, but the point of me doing that video yesterday was to get people to think a little bit more. You know, who would you want? If you're a Jeremy Corbyn supporter and a Labour supporter, who would you want as Prime Minister right now? Who would you want to win that? Well, you would want Boris Johnson, hands down. You would want him. You certainly wouldn't be bashing him if you're one of these cheerleaders on Twitter. You know, I've seen Rachel Swindon, for instance. She's been absolutely going after Boris Johnson non-stop for 4 days. She's a massive Labour. Well, I mean, she's a Labour member. 72,000 people follow her on Twitter. Massive voice. She's been bashing Boris Johnson non-stop. Do you think that she stopped to think, hold on a minute, who would be more beneficial for Labour and Jeremy Corbyn to be Prime Minister right now? Jeremy Hunt, who's efficient, stays under the radar, not too many controversies, but efficiently dismantled the NHS and turned it into a, well, even bigger piece of shit than it was because of underfunding and whatever. But you see my point. He efficiently messed it up. Like I said in the video, he was Hillary Clinton. He is Hillary Clinton. He's what Hillary Clinton would have done if she got into power in the US. However bad you think Trump was, trust me, the world would be in a much worse place now if Hillary Clinton was president. Definitely war with Syria, definitely war with Iran. Definitely. Just look back, she wanted a no-fly zone. But you've got to think logically. Do you want Hunt there, if you're a Labour supporter, who would probably eke out and quite under the radar eke out and no big scandals, etc., and manage to get to 2022 and an election and hang on for power as long as possible? Or an idiot, an absolute fucking idiot, who doesn't know his arse from his elbow unless an aide tells him. And trust me, unless an aide told Boris Johnson, sir, that's your arse and that's your elbow, he would fucking get it wrong. Somebody who, honestly, I think his big plan is to have an election. That's what a Labour supporter wants. I think Boris Johnson's big plan is that, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have an election, I'm going to go no deal, I'm going to put it to the people, and I'm going to get bigger. I'm going to get a bigger majority. You can see him doing that. The guy is he's a numpty. You've got far more chance of a general election and a Jeremy Corbyn government as soon as possible, and a general election Jeremy Corbyn government with Boris Johnson than you have with Jeremy Hunt. So why are these Corbyn supporters and these Labour supporters fighting so hard and working so hard to go after Boris Johnson for this argument he had with his girlfriend in his own private home on Friday, of which the police said, yeah, there's nothing there, don't worry about it. Why would you make a big deal about it? You're certainly not doing things for Jeremy Corbyn or the movement, are you? No, you're doing things for your own benefit. Because you're not thinking. Because you're thinking, how many likes is this going to get? How many retweets is this going to get? You've got to think smarter. Especially if you do want this socialist government that you so desperately have been chanting for however many years it's been, 2015 since Corbyn came in. The whole point of me doing that video yesterday was to say to people, you've got to think what you're doing. You've got to think further down the road than how many likes is this going to get. I do. I have rules that make sure that I don't do it. You know why? Because otherwise you're just being selfish. Our journalists will talk about anything but the things that are important. While you've been bashing Assange, you've been bashing Boris Johnson over this nonsense on Friday, you could have been asking journalists, why aren't you asking them about the Assange situation? Why aren't you asking them about journalism being on trial? Why aren't you asking them about the war in Yemen? Why aren't you asking them about the OPCW suppressed, the genuine OPCW report, which was suppressed, which showed that very likely we bombed Syria last year as the result of very dodgy evidence that, it didn't happen. It might well have been fabricated, the whole thing. Do you remember them saying it was highly likely? Theresa May? They won't talk about that, will they? They're not asking Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt those questions. They're not asking them the question of whether, we bombed Syria on the basis of false evidence. They're not asking, hold on a minute, you've just signed the extradition papers to Julian Assange. You realise you've just put journalism on trial, Jeremy Hunt, and now you're running for... Why aren't they asking him that? Why aren't they asking him about the Integrity Initiative? You've got to... Our media poke fun at other countries' so-called democracies. Our media poke fun at Maduro. Our media poke fun at Assad. Our media even poke fun at Putin and China and all these other countries and say, oh, they're democracies. They're sham democracies. Sham democracies. Do you remember how many times I said Maduro was like a dictatorship where it's not a democracy? Well, guess what? Right now, 160,000 Conservatives are voting for which one of those two idiots are going to be the next Prime Minister of the 6th or 5th largest economy in the world. Take that, Maduro. How's that for democracy, Assad? Hey, Putin, look at our democracy. Get this, 0.18% of the population is about to vote for your new Prime Minister if you're in the United Kingdom. 0.18%, 160,000 people. Way more people voted for the winner of Bake Off and Big Brother and the fucking Leicestershire pie eating contest or whatever. Come on, that's not democracy. Why aren't our journalists screaming at them about that? Why aren't they up in arms about that? Why haven't they got their hair on fire on the about the fact that 0.18% of the country are about to vote for which one of these rich motherfuckers are about to rule us? 0.18. What do you think? Can you imagine if 0.18% voted Maduro in, or Assad in, or Putin in, what the fuck they would be saying? What would our media be saying about that? This is insanity. It really is. I've lost my train of thought because I've had a whiskey. YCMTSU Gordon Dimmack. Don't know what that means, mate. Not good on acronyms. Thanks for everybody who sent super chats in while I think I've got them all. I think I have. Northern Light. Great name, buddy. Northern Light. I've had a few Northern Lights in my time. Happy birthday. Consider opening a chat form on discordapp.com. Northern Light, thank you very much for your donation. Yes, I am. I have actually got my own Discord, but there's a problem with it because I registered somewhere else, blah, 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 blah. I won't go into it, but I have been trying to set it up, and I want to do more going forward. There are ways that I can expand this and you know, maybe expand and streamline and concentrate it at the same time, and I'm trying to do that, but I'm not the most technical person in the world. It's great advice though. It's something I've been looking at. I'd really like to get to the stage where I've got, you know, people working for me and, you know, getting paid a living wage as well, who can do this stuff. I really would, because I'm shit. Shane Moore says, happy birthday, thank you for the truth. You're welcome, Shane. You're welcome. Thank you very much. And thanks very much for Jetgran for your donation. And Etic Boxen, what? Richie Allen said YouTube take 40% of super chats. No, they don't. You get charged 40% extra. Read it. If you send me £10, you'll get charged extra. Seriously. Look into it. He's wrong. Richie, by the way, he had his channel taken down, didn't he, Richard? I'll have to reach out because he had his channel taken down with this YouTube suppression. I'll get to that at the end. It's a big thing that's yeah. So it's on at YouTube at the moment, and they're trying to suppress us badly. They really are. They're trying to suppress us badly and trying to stifle the truth from getting out. Okay, I'm just looking at where I am. I think I'm over there now. Yeah. Wow. Am I only on story 2? I'm only on article 2. How long have I been going? 53 minutes. Hour 5 according to that. That's not bad, is it? On my birthday. I'm halfway through, guys. Got another hour of this. Tory winter is coming, says Flower Power. You know, says Pam Ryan. Sorry, you know what, Pam? I don't think you're wrong. I had a. Do you mind, guys? Actually, I'll bet you if I say this. There's a drink here. Watch this. This is going to magically. This empty glass is going to magically fill up with a whiskey and my Coke. But anyway, I was thinking about what could happen going forward with obviously Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt having this leadership contest. I was thinking about what, you know, it looks like Boris Johnson's nailed on to win, and it looks like the establishment are pissed off at him. Otherwise, you know, this stuff with regards to what happened on Friday, I tell you, it would never have come out. It was the Guardian. Honestly, it was the Guardian. If the people actually running this country didn't want that to come out, it wouldn't have come out. The reason it did come out is because Boris Johnson's pissed them off somehow. That's the only reason. And anybody who's thinking any different, honestly, you're so sadly mistaken. You have no idea how badly the Guardian is intertwined with our intelligence agencies right now. You have no idea. I've been looking into it, and there's some articles that I've read on it. It's incredible. When I say they really are just the PR firm for the establishment and GCHQ's mouthpiece, I mean literally. I forgot my train of thought now. Anyway. Get to the next story. So you all saw this, right? Come on. It's like I said in the video, they can, in Harrison Ford movies, I think it was Patriot Games, they got a satellite to zoom in on a pair of tits. And that's the best you've got. But, you know, this is what the rest of us thought. Iran is going to attack us, even if we have to do it ourselves. Iranian passport found. You know, this is, they lie, the Americans lie into war every single time. It's 100% foolproof. The Lusitania, just go back even to the 19th century with the war against Spain. They lie into war. It's false flags every time. It's lies into war. And they're doing it again. Well, look at this. Come on. That's my take on it. That's the equivalent of what they were saying. That's the evidence they provided that it was Iran. Well, our Foreign Secretary, and maybe next Prime Minister, 0.18% of the population of the United Kingdom is going to choose that. Nice one. Well, he thinks it's enough for a war with Iran. Here we go. Add those in the wrong order. Britain would consider joining the United States military assault on Iran. Jeremy Hunt. This was in the Daily Mail. This is why I've picked Afshin Rattanji's tweet rather than show you the Daily Mail, because it was in the Daily Mail. But Britain would consider joining the US military assault on Iran. Based on that. You know, because Iraq was such a roaring success for Tony Blair. Let me tell you something, right? Just come back to that in a second. Let me tell you of just how, as I understand it, how bad getting involved with a war on Iran would be. Okay? Because, first of all, the price of oil would go through the roof. Because 30% of all shipped oil goes through that region that is just to the south of Iran's border in the Strait of whatever it's called. And those tankers would be set on fire, which would send the price of oil through the roof. Which is, if there's one thing that's going to piss off an American with a 5-litre Ford pickup that does 6 miles to the gallon, it's the price of oil going up. And if the price of oil goes up, the president's approval rating goes down. Trust me. I was there in 2008. I saw George Bush and what had happened to him because of the price of oil going up. And that was just to, what was it, $3.67 a gallon or something like that at the time. They were screaming, Americans were. Can you imagine if it went up to $36 an hour? A gallon, rather? Honestly, it really could. And it's not just the amount of fires that would be in the Strait of Hormuz or whatever it's called. There would be fires all over the planet. All over the planet. People would be, you know, very, very upset. And if you think for a second, Jeremy Hunt, where are you? Here he is. If you think for a second that Iran's wrath wouldn't be turned on Great Britain, then you're sadly mistaken, because I've seen, because I had it out of order. We started this. We. When I say we, I mean we, the United Kingdom, Great Britain. Not we, me and you. No, the country. We started this with the overthrow of Mohammed Mossadegh in 1953. It was Winston Churchill, remember, that was pissed off with Mossadegh. It was Winston Churchill that went to Truman and asked them to help overthrow this guy who had won a democratic election and brought democracy to Iran and wanted to, have his country profit from the oil that his country sat on, rather than the British Empire and Winston Churchill, thousands of miles away, who had their Anglo-Iranian oil company there, who were making out like bandits while the country suffered. We started this. Truman told Winston Churchill no. He had to wait for Ike Eisenhower to come in. Ike Eisenhower to come in and give him his coup. And we overthrew Mossadegh. We, as in the United Kingdom, Britain, and along with the United States in 1953, which led to 26 years of brutal oppression for the people of that country, eventually which ended with the Iranian Revolution, the revolution in Iran in 1979, which is where all Americans and seemingly all British outlets want to start their history lesson. Go look it up. If you don't believe me, just type in Operation Ajax. There's a Wikipedia page for it, for Christ's sake. 1953. And if ever any publication out there wants to start the history of Iran and the United States, or the history of Iran and the United Kingdom any later than 1953, you tell them to go themselves. To go fly a kite. Because it's just not the truth. We started this with Churchill. Do you think that Jeremy Hunt saying that, hey, Britain will jump in with the US in a war against Iran, do you think that's going to make the Iranians happy? Remember, Jeremy Hunt is saying we're going to go to war with Iran, or we could, based on the equivalent of that evidence. Nobody believes outside the Pentagon and GCHQ. If this was to happen, and if Jeremy Hunt was to, join in with America and go to war with Iran, I can guarantee you this. Terrorist incidents in the United Kingdom will go through the roof. There will be fires all over the country. Well, my words, there will. And in America too. And this is why it pisses me off so much when Labour go on the defence and Jeremy Corbyn goes on the defence when they call him, an Assad apologist and a Putin puppet. It's the Conservatives who are weak on foreign policy. It's the Conservatives who are weak on war. It's the Conservatives who are weak on terrorism. Why? Because we fucking fund it. They fund it. They fund it. And then when it will come over to their shores, because we're pissing countries off in the Middle East that we have no business anywhere near. The only reason we're there is because we're the United States lapdogs. We're their poodles. We're the United States. Just, come on. They're sidekicks that everybody laughs about, like Robin in Batman and Robin. That's who we are in the United Kingdom. And Jeremy Hunt is weak on terrorism. We're funding it. We're creating these terrorists. And then once we've created the terrorists by funding it and arming it and training them and sending them into Syria and saying overthrow Assad, once we've done that, then we'll try and set Iran alight. And then, when all of a sudden, you know, we've got more incidents over here of terrorism, we'll start blaming Islamic State for it and other people other than ourselves. We started this all along. Isn't it about time that, you know, we had somebody in office that actually took responsibility for our mistakes throughout history? The Tories are weak on terrorism. They're going to bring it to our shores if they go to war with Iran. Make no bones about it. He's going to bring it here, and then, once he's brought the terrorism here, Jeremy Hunt, when the Tories, I'm not saying Boris Johnson wouldn't do this, he probably would without realising it, let's face it. But once they've done that, and they've brought the terrorism here, then they're going to use that as even more of an excuse to silence us and to use the threat as more minutes of hate to try and con you into voting against your best interests. Don't let them do it, and don't let Jeremy Hunt do it, for Christ's sake. If you really want to know what Jeremy Hunt is like as a person, as a man, as a politician, go ask 82,000 junior doctors what they think of it. This man signed Assange's extradition. This man, right here, Jeremy Hunt, if Donald Trump told him to bend over, he'd be grabbing his ankles before Trump could even complete the sentence. Give me incompetence any day of the week. Many happen to be returns, Gordon, says Paul Bangash. Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. Titch Omar says yellow vests. I'm with you, Titch. In more ways than one. Israel will join the fight even if they're not invited, says Banger. You know what, Banger? It's just, I'm glad you brought up Israel. What do you think is going to happen if America actually go to war with Iran? Obviously, you got the ships on fire, you got the high price of oil, you got terrorism going on. Who do you think they're going to hit as well? Who do you think Iran are going to have as a first strike? Israel. I wouldn't put it past. Somebody who's followed me and been a follower of mine even before I started the channel, really, Nostradamus. He's got a theory, and you know what? Nostradamus on Twitter, nice one. He's been right a lot of the time. He's got a theory that actually what's going to happen is Israel are going to end up doing some sort of. There's going to be an incident. Israel are going to be attacked by Iran, and America are going to have to come to Israel's defense. If we pressure Iran too much, what do you think they're going to do? Who do you think they're going to turn their attention to? Israel. And then we've got no choice. Then they've got World War III, and then Jeremy Hunt has just basically made sure that you and I are pretty much going to get killed in a new, the human race, you know, because it would go nuclear. Let's face it. Something to think about. Yeah, Israel, very close to Iran. That's who they'll hit. If America really do pressure them too much and it turns into a hot war, they're going to go for Israel. Mark my words. Hunt is a fascist, says Alexandria M. Alexandra M. I couldn't agree with you more, Alexandra, because I mean he did put journalism on trial. What he did to Julian Assange, that's fascism. Okay, let's see where we are. Remember, everybody, how many likes we got? I can't see the likes see 138 people. 138 people watching. Wow. 12 likes. Are you kidding me? There's 138 people watching and I've only got 12 likes. That can't be right. That can't be right. Must be more than that. Hit that like button, everybody, and share it. I'm getting suppressed like you wouldn't believe by Google. Honestly, I am. I'll touch on it a little bit at the end of this stream, and then I'll do a video about it in the next few years. But honestly, I'm not going to be here for long on YouTube. I'm really not. I'm not. They're going to kick me off. They're going to. It's going to happen. The only way that independent media is going to actually spread and actually get to the tipping point where we get rid of the legacy media is with word of mouth and with your help, because the algorithms by YouTube and Facebook, they're just going to go against us every time. They're going to bend to the will of the governments, because otherwise they're going to get beaten with the stick of regulation. Yeah, they're going to come for us. I want to talk about this because it seems nobody can figure this out. This is a riddle. This is from Vera Van Horn on Twitter, who I think she's a follower of mine, or she might be a patron. But John Bolton is a kind of bureaucratic tapeworm that keeps causing pain and suffering, but never suffering himself. Says Tucker Carlson. This is Tucker Carlson of Fox News, and nobody can figure it out because he's seemingly the the only person in America on mainstream TV or with any sort of massive platform, I mean really massive, corporate massive, who will tell the truth about war. Look at this. Let me just set this up. It's your line. I'm going to stop and start this. I can't play it all the way through, without stopping and starting it, but just listen to this by Tucker Carlson. This is astounding. It's astounding.
But just my view.
It's your long experience in foreign policy, I know.
Better record than yours, I would say. Got that? Hillary Clinton's toppling of the Libyan government was not a disaster, says John Bolton. Keep in mind there are literally slave markets operating in the streets of Tripoli right now.
Slave markets operating in the streets of Tripoli. Basically, he's right there. The slave trade in Libya. Libya was was the richest country in Africa when Gaddafi was toppled. Remember, Hillary Clinton said, "We came, he saw, he died, haha," and laughed about him being killed with as a bayonet was shoved up his rectum. There's slave markets there now in Libya. Slave markets, richest country in Africa, topple the dictator, the bad guy Gaddafi, slave markets there a few years later. It's ironic when the CIA were throwing around ways of maybe trying to get rid of Gaddafi back in the early 80s, as long as the early 80s with Bill Casey. Bill Casey, when he became CIA director under Ronald Reagan, he was already under investigation for an attempted off-the-books coup in Libya, where, get this, he was trying to make out that Gaddafi was involved in the slave trade. And now, ironically, they get rid of Gaddafi and the slave trade is back there. That will never get shown on CNN and MSNBC. They won't talk about that. Tucker Carlson just did. What the fuck?
No problem, though. Bolton's fine with that. He's fine with the outcome in Iraq, too. That wasn't a disaster either. According to John Bolton, it was a raging success. We killed hundreds of thousands of people, lost thousands of our own troops, spent more than $1 trillion, all to eliminate a WMD threat that, despite John Bolton's assurances, never existed in the first place. Bolton is glad we did all that.
Let me just... So Jeremy Hunt, let me show you. So Jeremy Hunt, who, remember, he said that he was okay. Britain would consider the joining the United States military assault on Iran. He is basically going on the coattails of that guy over there with a big moustache, John Bolton, the biggest warmonger on the planet, basically. Are any of our media going, Jeremy, what the fuck is the matter with you? Seriously, I'm asking. I bet you they're not. I bet you're not bringing this up. I bet you none of the media have asked Jeremy Hunt or Boris Johnson, any of them. I bet you not. They haven't asked him about Elliot Abrams when they were talking about Iran. They haven't asked about the history of Elliot Abrams, this guy that Trump has put in, and with Venezuela, his history with South America, and John Bolton and Pompeo. They're the war hawks. But then, you know, the media are doing their job. I'll continue playing this.
Really happy about it. That's demented. Normal people don't talk like that. There's nothing normal about John Bolton. Check out this piece of tape, recently uncovered, in which Bolton promises that we're going to overthrow the government of Iran. Keep in mind that this was filmed long before the Iranians shot down a single drone.
I have said for over 10 years since coming to these events that the declared policy of the United States of America should be the overthrow of the mullah's regime in Tehran. And that's why before 2019, we here will celebrate in Tehran. Thank you very much.
It's 2 years ago. He's talking about overthrowing Iran 2 years ago. You know, is it any wonder? Is it any wonder that you see stuff like that? Is it any wonder you see stuff like that on YouTube and on Twitter, rather? Iran is going to attack us, even if we have to do it ourselves. Come on, anybody with open eyes can see this is a warmonger trying desperately to get his country to war with another country. Doesn't matter if he's lying about it. And they do lie every single time, like I say, into war. Lusitania, and then you go back to the Gulf of Tonkin, and then you incubate the babies, then the weapons of mass destruction. Every time.
In other words, last night has been in the works for years. John Bolton is a kind of bureaucratic tapeworm. Try as you might, you can't expel him. He seems to live forever in the bowels of the federal agencies, periodically re-emerging to cause pain and suffering, but critically somehow never suffering himself. His life really is Washington in a nutshell. Blunder into obvious catastrophes again and again, refuse to admit blame, and then demand more of the same. That's the John Bolton life cycle. In between administration jobs are always cushy think tank posts, paid speaking gigs, cable news contracts. War may be a disaster for America, but for John Bolton and his fellow neocons, it is always good business.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but why don't our journalists over here, why aren't they more like Tucker Carlson when it comes to Iran? How is he allowed to do that? Seriously, other people have asked this question, and lots of people in independent media, we can't get our heads around it. What is going on? How come Tucker Carlson is the person who is talking the truth when it comes to foreign policy with the United States? And war, especially. You know. We know he's got, you know, we know Trump's got his ear. We also know, by the way, that he's got the ear of Trump, look. This is in the New York Times. urged to launch an attack. Trump listened to skeptics who said it would be a costly mistake, they said. Washington. He heard Trump. This is him calling off the strike against Iran. Remember, he had some strikes against some low-grade military targets, and they was going to go ahead, apparently. We don't know for sure. Obviously, this is in the New York Times. It might all be bullshit. But Washington. Trump heard from his generals and his diplomats. Lawmakers weighed in, and so did his advisors. But among the voices that rang powerfully for President Trump was that of one of his favourite Fox News hosts, Tucker Carlson. Did Tucker Carlson just stop World War III? While national security advisors were urging a military strike against Iran, Mr. Carlson in recent days told Mr. Trump that responding to Tehran's provocations... Tehran's provocations, yeah. Look how close, you've seen the meme, look how close they put their country to all our bases. Anyway, Trump's provocations with force was crazy. The hawks did not have the president's best interest at heart, he said, and if Trump had got into war with Iran, then he could kiss his chances of re-election goodbye. Yeah, absolutely, he could. Remember, Trump is on the campaign trail was very anti-interventionist, and I think I'm right in saying he's the first president so far since President Carter, I think, who hasn't started a war. And Carter was in, what, 79? He left? But the point is, as Tucker Carlson being the guy that stopped World War III and war with Iran. It looks like if Jeremy Hunt's Prime Minister, he would go in with them. Who knows what Boris would do. We don't know what happened here, though, because it was in the New York Times. We don't know whether what Tucker said to Trump. We don't know what anybody said to Trump. We don't know. It's in the New York Times. We can't trust them. We can't trust them. But whatever the reason for Trump doing a U-turn, if he did do a U-turn on those strikes, and if he did give the go-ahead for them and then come double back and say no, or whether these strikes were going to go ahead and he put the stop on it, whatever happened, if Tucker Carlson did stop these attacks on World, did it, thank you. I'm betting a hell of a lot of other journalists in America especially would not have tried to talk him out of it. And that's really, really scary, if you think about it, isn't it? Nearly as many likes as viewers now, says Good Dog. Perfect. Thank you. Still saying 12 likes on my screen. I must have to 76 to 80 says Jimmy Carter, Ocean Drive. 80 was it, not 79, sorry. But I think Trump is the first president so far to not start a war in his presidency since Carter. Which is kind of like, how the hell is that possible when you've got Pompeo and Abrams and Haspel and all these warmongers in your cabinet? You know, he literally did drain the swamp and found his cabinet at the bottom of it. You know, when he said drain the swamp, he found his cabinet there. I'm not sure which country's actually worse off at the moment, United States or the United Kingdom, with its politics. I think it's close, don't you? Let me just check, make sure I have, yeah, today's a super chat, remember, so let me make sure I haven't missed any super chats, because I don't want to do that. I really appreciate all the support I get. Sometimes I miss questions, I'm very sorry. I don't do it on purpose. I don't mean it. I want to get everybody's statements if they do send this through a super chat. So just bear me a second. I'll make sure. You probably see the video skipping a little bit and lagging while I open stuff up and take a look. Happy birthday, brother. Mine's tomorrow, says Wonky Sanga. Happy birthday for tomorrow, Wonky Sanga. That's very... But Carter did arm the Mujahideen, says Keith Duran. Good memory, mate. Good memory. Yeah, Carter, remember also, Carter gave the Shah, the Iranian Shah, sanctuary. Remember, this was 79. Iran was the end of Carter's presidency, by the way. Look back in history. That was the thing that basically made, there was no way he was going to get re-elected. And it was Reagan who, he almost extended the 79 siege in the American embassy back there in Iran. 79, they extended it and extended the hostages and etc. to better his chances of becoming president. There you go. But there's a fact. I think it's a fact that I think Trump is the first president of the United States not to start a war. Now, whether since 79, 80, since Carter, but whether that lasts is going to be a different matter, especially with his hawkish rhetoric with regards to Venezuela and Iran. I've got all the I've got all the super chats. Thank you very much for everybody who supports. I can't do this without your support. Thanks very much. Remember this, everyone. So, remember this. This was back in 26th of February. This was in the Canary by friend of the show and my good mate Mohammed El-Matsi. Demonstrators once again demand the Bank of England return, quote, stolen Venezuelan gold. Remember, this is around the same time as Richard Branson was, he held a concert for these starving people in Venezuela. We withheld Venezuela's gold. They've got some gold in the Bank of England. We withheld it. We said, no, you can't have that gold, Maduro, because we recognise Guaido as the president, this guy that I think only 18% of Venezuelans had heard who he was when the United States said, yeah, he's your president now. And this stupid coup attempt. Well, Richard Branson, as it says here in CNN, he hoped a concert would persuade the Venezuelan military to open the border. You'll remember this. Maduro obviously said, no, this guy can't be president, and you're certainly not going to let Elliot Abrams in with his humanitarian aid from the United States, which is basically full of guns and bombs and shit that you're going to arm militia in this country to overthrow us. No, you can't. We'll let in the aid from elsewhere, which they did. They let in the aid from elsewhere in other countries, but not from America, because Elliot Abrams, well, yeah, he'd done that before in the 1980s. I think he was in Nicaragua, got found guilty of lying about it, and then pardoned by George Bush Senior for it. George Bush Senior, yeah. Intelligence services as well. Venezuela made mistakes with their economy, and when I say mistakes, I mean, they fell into traps by Saudi Arabia and America because they overproduced oil and raised the price of oil, etc. And Venezuela hadn't got enough in reserve to be able to cope for it, and it set them on a recession. So Richard Branson hoped a concert would persuade persuade the Venezuelan military to let this aid in from America. This aid that was come on, Richard, you dumbass. I'm going to read this, and this is from a few months ago. Honestly, there's a reason I'm doing this. There's a reason I'm going over this old ground. You're going to love it. But it says this billionaire businessman Richard Branson says he hopes his Live Aid-inspired concert to raise funds for the Venezuelans will persuade members of the country's military to defy President Maduro and allow humanitarian aid to cross the border. They were allowing humanitarian aid to cross the border, Venezuela were. Quite happily allowing humanitarian aid from China and Russia and from the UN. No problem at all. It was the humanitarian aid from America. They didn't want to come in, as I reported at the time, because that's the stuff that Elliot Abrams was overseeing, that he was trying to guns and bombs and overthrow. You can see where I'm going here. Richard Branson couldn't. Branson, who will host the Venezuela Live Aid Live, oh, it's not Live Aid, it's Venezuela Aid Live, on Friday, this was from, what was it, February 22nd, he's updated on February 22nd anyway, from Cucuta, said that he is aiming to raise about $100 million to buy food and medicine essential supplies for the country, which is gripped by a political and humanitarian crisis. Yes, humanitarian crisis. Humanitarian crisis. I'll get to why it's a humanitarian crisis and why it's a bigger humanitarian crisis than it really should be in a second. But I just want to go over this article from the CNN. Remember this concert that Richard Branson held. This event will feature performances. This event will feature performances from more than 30 artists, according to the concert's website. These include huge names in Latin America, like Colombian musical legends Carlos Vives, Jones, and reggaeton singer Maluma, all three of whom collaborated with pop star Shakira in the past. So all these headliners are people who have did a thing with Shakira once. Swedish DJ Alesso is also in the lineup alongside Mexican rock band Mana, who have won several Latin Grammys and 4 Grammys, and Spanish singer and songwriter Alejandro Sanz. So a load of people I've never heard of, and probably you have either, but one guy, yeah. Just bear me a second. Sorry about that. Very sorry. So, just bear me a second, I'll be back in a second. Hi everyone. I will. Very sorry. My curry turned up. I'd ordered a Chinese from, and anyway, the microphone was off. I'm very sorry. I'll continue with this now. So Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido, who's involved in a constitution provision last month to declare himself acting president, has been working with a raft of global partners, including the United States. Raft of global partners, including the United States. It's basically 3 countries, I think, to bring aid into the country. Maduro has repeatedly refused assistance, leaving aid languishing on the border despite growing shortages. The way CNN frame this is obviously nonsense. I mean, even the picture they put there, look at that. It's like, oh my God, they closed down the border. No, that picture, that road there, it's never been opened. That picture that they say it's never been opened. I know. So, I've lost my place now. Spare me a second. Richard Branson here, whether he's, you know, somebody who is just a dumbass and can't see what is fact from fiction, and he gets, you know, just lied to into these things, I don't know. What you've got to understand, Richard, is however bad you think this Venezuelan aid crisis is, it's made worse by the United States. They don't help. They really don't. In fact, they're the ones who've orchestrated it all along with our help. Let me just take you over to here. This is from Sputnik, right? Yeah, I know it's Russian, but it's factual. Just look at this. This is a list of all the sanctions. US imposed sanctions against Venezuela are part of a bipartisan campaign to obstruct the Latin American nation's independence, both financially and politically, and have grown into a full economic blockade, according to a list of actions and executive orders documented by Caracas. Just want to give you a scroll down. Look at this. This is the sanctions put on Venezuela since 2014. This is not just Trump. Okay, I want to make sure that my audience understand this. It's not just Trump. It's America. It's their foreign policy. It doesn't matter who's there. Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Bush Senior, Reagan. Doesn't matter. This carries on regardless. Look at these sanctions. 2014, pretext of crashing down on protesters. The US Congress passes Public Law 113-78. 8th of March 2015, Executive Order 13692. July 2016, stops issuing foreign currency accounts to Venezuelan institutions. August 2016, suspended 1.2 billion in funds transferred by the US in February. That was us, by the way, the United Kingdom. That's that 1.2 billion in gold that we are refusing to give them back. September 2016, the Venezuelan government agrees to exchange 7.1 billion in USD into PVD. Look at the sanctions. Just look at this list. I don't need to read them all out. Look at them. Just look at the list as I'm scrolling down. This is the list of sanctions that have been put on Venezuela whilst they are in the biggest humanitarian crisis in the world. Do you think that this has helped or hindered? Well, you don't need to think. I'll tell you right now. It's caused the death of thousands of people. Actually, 40,000 people since 2015. And this is a report, by the way. Sorry, economist, I'm going to say your name is Mark Weisbrot, just because if I'm going to butcher it, might as well do it properly. But this is also with Jeffrey Sachs, who once went on MSNBC and had a conversation about Operation Timber Sycamore, and I don't think he's been invited back, but there's sanctions that I've just shown you, this list. Jeffrey Sachs, The Economists, and his buddy Weisbrot. 40,000 Venezuelans have died as a result of these sanctions. If Maduro and Venezuela had put these, killed 40,000 of their own people, our media would be going apoplectic right now. But they've been almost silent on this. Reuters actually suppressed this report for a month, probably to allow more time to try and get the Americans to get Juan Guaido in. Why am I bringing all this up there? Well, I'm bringing all this up because this is from the Grey Zone recently. From coup leaders to con artists, Juan Guaido's gang exposed for massive humanitarian aid fraud. It's led to this. All the money that was gone to them from this concert that Richard Branson set up, we don't know where it is. Don't know where it is. He's done this live aid. Nobody knows where the money's gone. Juan Guaido looks like him and his cronies have just had it. Virgin have had to, Richard Branson of Virgin, release a statement. From Virgin Group, we want to establish a position in relation to the funds raised in the Venezuela Aid live concert held on February the 22nd, 2019. So they've had the funds, where have they gone? In the last few hours, officials of the administration of the government of Venezuela President Juan Guaido. Really? Are you still saying the government of Venezuelan President Juan Guaido? You're still saying that even though they took the money you raised and buggered off? Give it all their mates? You're still saying Venezuelan government, Branson? You gutless, spineless shit. Have been involved in corruption schemes for which we are not responsible or have any connection. Corruption! Since the idea of a mass call to demand freedom and democracy in Venezuela arose, our commitment was for everyone to come together for its cause and contribute a grain of sand to help people that is not going through the worst crisis in their history. The worst crisis in their history that America are actually putting them in and making worse. You bearded twat. But what is collected there and the use of those resources were given is not our competence. We were only a platform. So we repudiate anyone who has tried to enrich themselves in the name of hunger and the disease of people needed. Venezuela needs answers for what we put at the disposal of the international authorities to collaborate in what they need to get to the bottom of this painful episode. No, Venezuela doesn't need answers. You need to stop being a twat. Anybody with a brain could see what was going on here. And you have either been hoodwinked into one of the biggest scams I've ever seen. Come on. Or you're a complete idiot. Which one is it, Branson? Needs answers. Needs answers. Venezuela needs answers. Well, Richard Branson needs answers. And I'll tell you this, that money's gone missing and you raised that money and that money went missing completely because you're an out-of-touch twat of a billionaire. That's what it is. Who doesn't know his arse from his elbow. I want to end on somebody who does that. I want to end on somebody, I want to talk about somebody here who really does know what's going on, especially in Venezuela. But not just in Venezuela, in other places as well. Because there's somebody in our government, actually, not in our government, in the House of Commons, who was absolutely spot on with this. An MP who got this right from the very beginning. He was even in Mohammed El-Matsi's article that I quoted at the beginning of this segment. Because Mohammed El-Matsi put it in, because I'm going to give you a little bit of a trip down memory lane. Oh, that's the wrong one. To when Chris Williamson, MP for Derby North, suspended by the Labour Party for a fake anti-Semitism claim. He said this at the time. He said this on 23rd of February, so the day after. Britain is offering aid to Venezuela while withholding 1.2 billion of gold. Like I said at the beginning, we withheld their money because, hey, Juan Guaido's president now. Why? Trump said so. Britain is offering aid to Venezuela while withholding 1.2 billion of gold. America does the same while enforcing ruinous sanctions. Now, Richard Branson holds a Venezuela aid concert at the border. This is a coup. Venezuelans need the economic warfare to end. I'm going to play you this.
What the?
I'm going to play you this by Chris Williamson. I'm going to play it. It's 1 minute and 24 seconds. This is what he said at the time when Branson was arranging this concert. Enjoy.
What the hell's going on with the media in this country? While simultaneously lambasting Venezuela for rejecting US aid, they're ignoring the fact that we're withholding over £1 billion of their money. Maybe we should start there. Give Venezuela back what's theirs.
Well, the British government's whole position is simply acting as Donald Trump's poodle cannot be allowed to stand.
And that's while our government, as well as the United States, says they want to avert a humanitarian crisis. Remarkably, the actual gold in question was mined in Venezuela. The conquistadors stole South America.
I'm going to go back and play that again. I know people get pissed off when I do this, but you know what? I'm going to remind people of that. This gold that Britain is still withholding, 1.2 billion pounds on it still, came from Venezuela in the first place.
Remarkably, the actual gold in question was mined in Venezuela. The conquistadors stole South America's gold for centuries. Now we do the same, only under the guise of democracy and liberty. And maybe you saw the block bridge across the media. It was on the BBC, CNN and ABC. Even the Minister of State, Alan Duncan, tweeted it out. It's never been used. How can you demand someone reopen something when it's never been opened in the first place? The coverage of Venezuela has been shaped by mistruth, concealment and outright bias. How can anyone take Britain seriously when we talk about a humanitarian crisis, yet we're stealing money from the very country beset by those problems?
Chris Williamson, take a bow. You were right, 100% right. And Richard Branson, yeah, he was bloody wrong. He was bloody wrong. I think, excuse me, I want to echo Chris's words there. What the hell is going on? Especially with our media as well. You go along with this crap. I get it right and you don't. I end up scooping the New York Times. What the hell is going on with our media, as Chris said? But more importantly, after showing you all this and showing you that yet again I've been right, once again, and these rich MFers who are out of touch like Richard Branson are wrong and end up with egg on their face. When it comes to Venezuela, isn't it about time that people realise that people like me are telling the truth about it? People like the Grey Zone and Ben Norton, Max Blumenthal, we're telling the truth. People like Chris Williamson is telling the truth. And our media are lying. And with that in mind, isn't it about time we gave Venezuela their £1.2 billion of gold back? As Chris Williamson said, not just theirs, it was mine there in the first place. Fairness says we should. Gold is gone, says Flower Power. Yeah, that's if it's there. Good point. America did it. That's why we ended up on the petrodollar. There's another thing the media will never talk to you about, the petrodollar. And I've done videos about that. You should go back and check. That is all I have got time to do tonight, everyone. I want to talk about this though, just before I go, because you may have found out that Boris Johnson has refused to do a debate with Jeremy Hunt on Sky. Sky actually had to put out a statement to say, well, unless Sky put out a statement, I haven't got it clipped up, but they actually put out a statement that said, unless both people turn up, there won't be a debate. They actually put out that statement. Because Boris Johnson refused to go on this debate on Sky, Jeremy Hunt's decided to do a Q&A actually while I was live tonight, so otherwise I would have made fun of it even more. But he did a Q&A, and he came up with, apparently he came up with the hashtag Bojo No Show and said to the members of the public, send me a question on Twitter and I'll answer them. So I jotted down a few of the questions that were being asked of him. Andrea Burns said this: can you remember how many luxury flats you bought yet? Wondering whether we'll answer that one. You were given a discount by a Tory donor on 7 flats that you didn't even declare into Parliament. How much was the discount, and how come you weren't sanctioned the way poor people are for making an honest mistake, says Picator. I'm pretty sure that that's a question that, yeah, Jeremy Hunt is not going to be answering in his Bojo No Show hashtag Ask Me Anything tonight. Papa Q69 says, why are you such a lying, pathetic waste of breath? You screwed the NHS, and now you would like to become Prime Minister so you can finish the country? Go away, you silly little person. Bojo probably has more important matters to attend to, like his nosy neighbours. His nosy neighbours that no doubt are getting money from The Guardian. Joy Eats Frog's Legs, JC 4pm 2019 says, Bojo No Show, when are you and your government going to stop killing the sick and disabled of the UK? I think Joy Eats Frog's Legs, you're going to be, the 5th of never? How's that? Bojo No Show, how do you feel about everyone calling you Jeremy Cunt? I hope it hurts him. I hope he's pissed off with it. Why are your eyes so close together? There's a question. Well, it's because he's hunting. He's a hunter. He's hunting for the next poor person he can sanction. He's hunting for the next cut he can make to the NHS. That's what I would suggest. But this is my favourite question in the Bojo No Show hashtag. This is from Eric Stiffen. Julian Assange is facing extradition to the United States because he reported facts about Iraq and Afghanistan the United States and the United Kingdom didn't want aired. If it is allowed to go ahead, a precedent will be set. Make us all look bad. Jail. Do you support journalism or just state threats? I'm pretty sure that Jeremy Hunt will not be asking any of those questions. I didn't have time tonight. I wanted to, but I didn't have time to talk about this. I will do in other videos. The New York Times has admitted it sends stories to the United States government for approval before publication. Unlike, it's just like, come on. It's so, like, America, bless them, they don't do things as good here. The Guardian over here is pretty much a wholly owned subsidiary of GCHQ right now. And then they still beg for money from the public at the end of every article. New York Times have to send their stuff. They have to ask permission. I'm pretty sure the Guardian just get their marching orders from GCHQ. And I also didn't have a chance to talk about this guy. Chucker. Come on. Chucker. I don't want to make fun of you. I really don't. I would rather you just piss off and go away so we don't have to talk about you anymore. An inspiring evening. Listen to Chucker Amuna's reasons for joining Lib Dems and his vision. I'm pretty sure reason number 1 was no other party would touch me with a 10-foot fucking barge pole. I'm going to do a video about this just because I like bashing Chucker Amuna, because I think he's the cancer of democracy on this country and he epitomises it. And I will do in a video going forward. I just want to make sure that I haven't missed any super chats, but unless I haven't, I don't think I have. I think that's it for tonight, everyone, and that's it for tonight's live stream. I think so. Let me just check. I don't think I've missed any. If I have, I will come back to them. If I've missed any super chats, I will come back to them. Apologies. I didn't also have a chance to talk about the other thing I didn't have lined up, and that's the project of Veritas and what they found with the Google stuff that's coming out. You know, we're going to be facing massive suppression from YouTube over the coming months and years. We already have. I started my channel at pretty much the worst time possibly could, just after they'd rolled out the algorithm at the beginning of 2018. But I've managed somehow to amass something like 18,000 subscribers, even with all the algorithmic suppression that goes on trying to stop the truth getting out there. This is down to you more than anything. As long as you keep supporting me, I'll keep doing this. And I'll keep trying to give you the truth. And so will independent media as well. You know who they are. One of these days I'm going to put a video together of who I think are the best are, and maybe you can add them in. But we've got to fight back against this media. I'm hoping that pretty soon we'll reach a tipping point and the truth will start coming out and the propaganda will start. I'm hoping that in the future, in the years to come, in the decades to come, people will look back and this was the turning point for the media and for humanity. I really do hope that that's the case. It may be a hopeless task we have here, but we've got to fight back. We need funding to do it. And the only way we can do it and still remain loyal to you is for you to fund us. I'm never going to sell out, and I'm always going to try and give you the truth, and the media don't do that. Thanks very much for everybody who supports me. Thanks very much for everybody who joined me on my birthday live stream. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for listening. I'll release all these little clips that I've done tonight as videos over the next couple of days, and hopefully get some interviews to done. And I'm going to go off now. I'm going to have a well-earned whiskey and a well-earned joint and well-earned Chinese that I've just ordered. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Peace. Take care. Please click the links in the description and up there to go through to my website, find out ways you can support me. Support indie media. Support independent media. We can't do this without your help. And honestly, I think humanity really does. The fate of it rests in your hands. Peace. Take care, everyone. Love you all.